Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, absurdism in the extreme. It's all available here in the Tales from the Omni Vault book series. Check the description for Amazon links so you can get your copies and start reading today. Thank you all, and now, on to the video. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and I know that provocative title and thumbnail make quite a claim. The advent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe popularized not only movie universes, but superhero team-ups. After years of studios only ever making standalone superhero movies with no intention of crossovers even when they had the ability to do so, suddenly team-ups were all the rage. The Avengers movies became events that people eagerly awaited, and Warner Brothers scrambled to catch up with Justice League, which they had to release twice to get right. Fans of both movies keep debating which one did it better, but I stand before you today saying that they were both surpassed before either of them even existed. Way back in 1964, Toho culminated 10 years of kaiju eiga with Gadora the Three-Headed Monster, and it, I say, is a better team-up movie.
A bold claim, Omni. You ready to put your money where your mouth is?
Always, Snazzy, but I would like to clarify a few things first. Lest you get the wrong idea, I like the MCU. Well, the first three phases of it anyway. I also think the first Avengers movie is very well done, managing to pull something off that was a huge risk at the time. I'm also one of the few people who enjoyed the early days of the DCEU, though of the two different versions of Justice League, the Snyder Cut is undeniably superior. Long? Yes. Overindulgent? At times. Featuring Ezra Miller and Amber Heard? Unfortunately. Still, it's a darn sight better than the theatrical cut, which I originally tried to like but ultimately fell out of love with. So I don't hate either of these movies, but I stand by my thesis that Gadora the Three-Headed Monster is the superior team-up film.
You know, you keep saying that, but you have yet to reach the point.
I was going to before you interrupted me.
Oh, well, pardon me.
I will this time. Okay, so first and foremost, let's answer the burning question. Why make a team-up movie in the first place? Well, the obvious reason is because if people love things individually, they'll love them even more together, or at least that's the working theory. You can't just throw these characters together at random, though. There's got to be a justification, usually that there's some kind of threat that no single character can face alone. It's simple but effective, and that's how you get stuff like Justice League and Avengers. My question is, how good of a job do these movies do at actually justifying the team-up? Let's take a closer look. Since Avengers kicked things off, we'll start with that one. In theory, bringing the heroes together makes total sense. They're up against Loki the Trickster God and his army of alien invaders, the Chitauri, who are working on behalf of Thanos, who will be playing a bigger role later. Seems like a pretty big threat that's too much for the heroes to handle alone, right? But does the movie actually back that up? Well, early on, something is made abundantly clear about the heroes who will become the Avengers. They are all equally matched in power. Whatever strengths or weaknesses they have essentially put them on an even playing field with each other. This is best exemplified by the battle between Iron Man and Thor. They deal plenty of damage to their surroundings, but very little to each other. Tony Stark's technology and Thor's magic interact in ways neither of them expected, and as a result, neither one can triumph over the other. They can fight until the sun rises and sets again, and neither of them will be any closer to victory. In short, they're at an impasse. Eventually, Captain America steps in, and he's shown to be their equal as well. Cap is able to stop the fight, though he doesn't harm either Thor or Tony, even by throwing his shield. Then Thor bringing Mjolnir down on the shield shows us what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. Again, it destroys their surroundings, but all three heroes are still on their feet at the end. These guys are certainly powerful, there's no doubt about that. The villains are another matter entirely. Like I said, Loki leading an alien army seems like a threat too great to stop unless everyone is together. But are they really? The Chitauri have numbers on their side, absolutely, and they outnumber the Avengers by a lot. That said, though, they are shockingly weak. The Avengers have no trouble at all tearing through them, and even those giant flying whale monsters can be taken down by individual members of the team without assistance. Even Black Widow, arguably the weakest member, is still able to take the aliens down without even breaking a sweat or messing up her hair.
As for Loki, even setting aside the fact that he lost in an earlier movie, he doesn't fare much better.
Loki gets one-on-one moments with each hero throughout the movie, and he consistently loses every encounter. No matter what he tries, he's no match for the individual heroes, whether it's a battle of wits or physical combat. Even Agent Coulson manages to blast Loki through a wall while he's dying on the floor. Also, let's not forget that Iron Man stops the invasion more or less by himself when he guides that nuke through the wormhole and kills the Chitauri's hive mind. So between the glass-jawed army and their incompetent leader, I find myself wondering if the team-up was really necessary after all.
Well, that's the Avengers, but what about Justice League? Does it do a better job of justifying the team-up? Well, it kinda goes in the opposite direction.
To start with, the setup is very similar to the Avengers, what with the threat being a demigod with horns leading an alien army in service of an even bigger villain being set up for the future. In this case, it's Steppenwolf and the Parademons invading on behalf of Darkseid.
To be fair, the circumstances are a bit different.
Steppenwolf is invading because he was summoned by devices called the Mother Boxes, and they summoned him specifically because Superman died in the second DCEU movie. Feeling responsible for it, Batman takes it upon himself to make a team of heroes to defend the world in Superman's place.
Now, perhaps you've already realized what's going on. The Justice League is brought together to compensate for the lack of Superman.
Steppenwolf is arriving now because Supes is 6 feet under, and the League must step up in his absence. Yet Batman still doesn't think they are enough, so he makes the risky decision to bring Superman back from the dead since he's the only one guaranteed to save the world. This implies that not even all of these amazing heroes together can equal Superman's power, and this implication becomes fact when we see them take on a confused resurrected Superman in battle, and he trounces every single one of them. Furthermore, the League doesn't really stand a full chance of winning until Superman comes to his senses and joins them. In short, the Justice League's importance is actually kind of diminished.
Granted, that does solve a problem that plagues many Justice League stories, where Superman is, to use the vernacular, nerfed and thrown out of the fight to justify the team-up, but it arguably overcompensates.
Now, Superman is so vital to victory that the rest are just placeholders waiting for him to come and tip the scales. In that case, what good are they beyond just being discount Superman?
In short, when you really scrutinize them, neither movie completely justifies the team-up. The heroes are either too powerful or not powerful enough, which just raises the question of why they had to be brought together in the first place. Once again, I wish to remind you all at this juncture that I do not hate either the Avengers or Justice League. I genuinely like both movies. Still, I did say that a Godzilla movie from the 60s outclassed them both in executing the team-up concept. So how can I prove it? Let's dive into the details.
Once again, we have an opponent from space. That seems to be the pattern. This time, though, it's an eldritch abomination named King Ghidorah. He's not here on behalf of anyone because his whole existence is about destroying life in the universe. The only hope of stopping him is if Mothra can convince Godzilla and Rodan to join her.
Really, it makes sense that these three would have to be the heroes.
Godzilla is confirmed to be a powerhouse, and even when he loses, it's only temporary. Mothra is one of the few beings who can stop Godzilla, and she's a physical deity to boot. As for Rodan, he survived a volcanic eruption, though sadly his mate did not, and he spends the whole movie proving that he can give Godzilla one heck of a fight. They're stronger than anything you can throw at them, so only they have a shot against this existential threat.
Now, there is some initial uncertainty, given that Mothra is still in a weaker larval stage, and neither Godzilla nor Rodan think fighting Gadora is any of their business. But once everybody's on the same page, each monster gets a one-on-one battle with the Golden Dragon. And how do they do? Well...
Mothra gets tossed around like a rag doll, Godzilla gets his nuts electrocuted, and Rodan gets pinned behind a rock that Ghidorah is steadily chipping away at. The tides of battle do not turn until all three monsters are working in tandem with each other, tag-teaming Gadora until he's finally overwhelmed and ready to retreat.
Do you see it? First and foremost, the movie clearly shows us that none of these monsters can defeat Gadora alone.
They each try and they each fail, proving beyond a doubt that Gadora is the ultimate enemy. Yet when the three kaiju finally come together as a team, they are all equal participants. It's not a case of two holding the line until the third steps in as deal breaker. No, they all need to fight as one unit to save the world. None of the issues present in those modern superhero movies are present here, and the team-up is perfectly justified. The only way King Ghidorah can be defeated is if Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan work together.
Heck, this isn't even the only time such a display happens.
For the rest of the Showa era, every time Ghidorah shows up, Godzilla never faces him alone. He either pairs up with Rodan again, or he teams up with Anguirus. Later, we see that Mechagodzilla is too much for Godzilla to handle alone, and even King Caesar, around whom the plot hinges, can't beat the robot solo. They also must work together to achieve victory. And it all started in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, when the crew realized that they had to do more than just throw the kaiju together. They had to make sure the audience knew why. And it worked.
Ergo, Godzilla has a superior team-up movie to what either Marvel or DC accomplished. That's what I believe anyway. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Well, Snazzy, I'm pretty sure I've angered the entire internet with this one.
Don't be ridiculous, Omni. Nobody watches these videos anymore.
That was a low blow, Lizard Lips, and yet I can't exactly argue against it.